Hey guys, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Before we start today's video though, I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. Please hit that thumbs up button. It only helps me out. As you know, I've been away from the channel for about 2 weeks now because I haven't been able to record because I had some issues. I had some issues with my RAM, and I will show you how I deduced it. About 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in our Discord voice chat, which, by the way, if you're not a member of the Discord, you might consider joining it. We have a very lively voice chat over there. We get people lots of help over there. We actually had a fundraiser to actually get somebody a new computer for the most part. Really, we rebuilt this whole new computer. Yeah, it was awesome. I was sitting in a Discord chat. We were talking about stuff, and people kept saying, "You sound kind of muffled, this, that, and another." Thought I was having some issues. And all of a sudden, I thought, okay, whatever. So it sent me down this wormhole trying to figure out audio issues in Linux, which we know that's worst case scenario, always something to be a bit of a nightmare. But shortly after I figured that out, I rebooted and it got to work, sounded good, everything going, got it working. And then all of a sudden, I started having a lot of crashes. And it got to the point where I could only stay in the Discord for about 30 seconds. And I thought, wow, I thought possibly that some of my problems was storage. And so I went on the hunt for storage and I increased my storage and it didn't remedy anything. So next thing you know, I'm thinking, okay, so it's got to be RAM. So how do I go about stress testing this? Well, I found 2 programs that I used that helped me diagnose my RAM issue, and they're fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those. The first one we're going to look at is called SMPrime. So SMPrime is a stress tester that is, if you've ever did any kind of stress testing in Windows, then you'll know that there was Windows known as Prime 95. Okay, that is the same tool, only it was written for Windows. Now they made it available for Linux, and it is pretty sweet. So it comes in a flat pack, which on Linux or on Nix OS, I downloaded and installed, and it works flawlessly. The Nix packages works as well, but it's a little bit more difficult to get installed. If you just want to be simple, just do the flat pack. And all the other distributions, you can actually clone the GitHub and then CD into the actual folder, the cloned folder, and then do ./SMPrime, and it'll run it right away. Or you can check and see if it's actually in your actual repos for your packages. Let's go ahead and we're going to launch the flat pack that I have installed here. So this is my desktop. As you can see, I'm in my Alacrity terminal. So let's go ahead and launch it. So this is what you get. When you first install it, you're going to wind up going through the steps of setting it up and stuff. It'll ask you a bunch of questions. Do you want to join the server? You can be anonymous. You can make up your own name, or you can give your own name. I gave TLT, but either way, you could actually join the server and do all this stuff for prime.net, which is where it gets its prime integers. It gets you into this, which we're going to do number 16, which is a tortures test, which is it's pretty intensive. So we're going to hit enter, and then the number of cores we're going to torture, we're going to choose 6, and we're going to do hyperthreading. We're going to hit yes, and then we're going to choose right here. Are we going to do for the RAM, for the memory, you're going to want to see number 3 is the one that you want to choose, which is a large FFTS, which stresses your memory controller and your RAM. Going to hit enter. We're going to customize this. Yes. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to accept the range of 463 for the FFT size. And this one is going to be the default because I don't know what it is. Now, this one we're going to use the memory to use in gigabytes. Okay, so you don't want to use 100% of your RAM because if you do, you're going to lock up your machine. This is suggesting, as you can see, about 80% of my RAM, which is going to be 28.4 gigabytes. So I'm going to hit that. And then the time to run the FFTs in minutes. So to save time, I'm going to do 1 minute for each one. You could do 15, you could do 20 if you really want to stress it. Okay, but I'm just going to do one for the sake of, efficiency for this video. And then we're not going to run a weaker torture test. You don't want to do that. That defeats the purpose of running a torture test. We're going to hit yes and then disable. We're going to we're going to accept the default on that. And we're going to hit Y for accept all the answers above. And now it's running the torture test. So it's going to go through and run its torture test. It's going to run like 6 or 7 tests, I believe. And it will take about a minute for each test. So I'm going to pause the video, and when it's done, I will resume it. So I'm unpausing for just a second here to show you that test number 1, which you can see self-test 1, and they're passing. So it has passed at 480K. And it passed on, as you can see, workers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are the different threads that it's testing. Now, as you can see, it is running test number 2, which was a 512,000, and it had a fatal error timing out because I have this is the test number 3 for worker 3, I believe. It had an error because I have OBS running, so it's probably chewing up some RAM and it's running into some issues. Torture test completed 2 tests in 6 minutes, 1 error so far. Yeah, it was for worker number 3 at 560,000 FFTs. So that was nice that the rest of the workers passed 1, 2, 4, or sorry, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 passed. 3 is the only one that failed. And so I'm probably just going to go ahead and I'm just going to end the test here because I don't want it to run through because this is a longer running stress test. This will take quite a bit of minutes because remember, it's testing. I set it to 1 minute per worker. So it is it's doing 6 minutes per test. I'm going to go ahead and Control C, and that'll end it and that'll kill it. It stops all the workers. Yeah, see, it dropped 3 out of the list right here. So that is how you can do that. Now, I want to show you something else. So if we do this again to run it, and say you had just worker 1, all your workers failed. It recommends, like if you do option 16, right? And number of cores of test, we're going to do 6. We're going to do hyperthreading, yes. And then right here, if you actually had a fail, you would rerun it just like we just did right now. Only instead of running the number 3 option, you are going to want to run the number 1 option, the smallest FFTs, which is going to test your CPU. So it's going to let you know that it isn't CPU based. That's how I found out that I had RAM issues, because I tested my CPU, because when you got programs crashing, you never know if it's CPU or RAM. So this is really nice because it will literally identify which one it is. And this one, when I ran to small FFTs, my CPU passed with flying colors. No problem. So that's how I knew that it was RAM. I had a failure with RAM when it failed right off the bat. And then I ran the smallest FFTs and it passed. So that's when I went on a hunt. So then I ran a second one because you always want to trust but verify. And so I ran another one. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that next. Okay, so the next stress test that we're going to take a look at is called Stress NG. And let's go ahead and navigate to their web browser because I think it's important to start there. So this is where it's at. Now, this is the wiki. It's done by Ubuntu. It is not made by Ubuntu at all. So Canonical does not own this. It's actually a Kalalindil or something like that on GitHub. I will post a link in the description to it, and I'll post a link to this wiki because this wiki is very explanatory. Now, Stress NG is by far the greatest stressing tool out there. It does more intensive and down to kernel type stressing as well. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the page just to kind of look at, briefly some of the stuff that's going around. Like you could do simple tests, which is stress ng matrix dash matrix 1, which is going to be I believe it's just like a gathering, a smattering of the tests from CPU to IO, that kind of stuff. And then the dash T is the time. You could set it to run it for 1 minute, or you can do seconds, which is it defaults to seconds. And there's a great YouTube video on it, which I will actually link to you in the description. This is it right here. I'll link it in the description as well, so you can go give it a watch. And the guy explains it very well. In fact, that's what helped me understand it a little bit better than this wiki, even though this wiki is very complete. Let's look at some of the tests. Okay, so you have the matrix test, of course. Then you have BOGO ops, which actually it measures a stress test of throughput using a bogus operations per second on your CPU. So you can do that. And then running many stressors, you can run CPUs, matrix, which is going to be a lot. And then, of course, it's got other defaults, which I'm sure if you run stressng-help, you will get a little bit more explanation as well if they've done a quality man page for it as well. And then, of course, you can run all the tests at once, which will take forever, but I would put a time frame on it. Like this one here is doing sequential, which is all the tests sequentially at a time frame of 20 minutes. And then, of course, how hot you can run a stress test to get your CPU nice and hot. More stressy is actually an aggressive option that you could add in there. You can also set it to do verbose mode. There's different classes. The stress NG stressors are grouped together in different classes. Like for CPUs, just CPU intensive. CPU cache is CPU caches and data caches. Devices raw for like driver stressors. IOs, generic input output. I mean, you can test everything. You can test your file system, your memory. You can, and in memory, you do stack, heap, memory mapping, shared memory stressors. Network, you can stress your network. You can do your OS, which is your core kernel stressors. Pipe and Unix socket stressors. Scheduler, you can actually force high levels of context switching in your CPU scheduling. Also security for app armor stressing. I mean, there is a lot. You can even do virtual memory stressor as well. I mean, this is amazing, this suite of tools that it has built in here. Actually intuitive it is. So really, I mean, it's a wonderful tool to look at. And so we're going to go ahead and do jump back to the terminal, and we're going to take it for a test ride. And so here we are. What we're going to do is we're going to run stress NG, right? You don't need to pass any elevated privileges such as run it as sudo or anything like that. You just run it regular. And then we're going to pass it because we're doing the RAM only. So we're going to do virtual RAM, and then we're going to do 1, and then we're going to give it the time frame. So we're going to do the -T, and then now mind you, it's going to be in seconds. So we're going to do like 100 and let's see, for 2 minutes would be 120. Okay, and then you can do either 120 or you can do S. I like to do S, that way I know I'm specifying seconds. And then you want to tell it how many gigs of RAM you want to test. Remember, you don't want to do all the RAM that you have in your computer, otherwise you're going to lock up your computer. And so you're going to specify it in bytes, okay? And then you're going to do like let's do simple roundabout RAM here of 28 gigabytes, which is what we did in the SMPrime. So we're going to do that, and that's it. We're going to pass that, then those flags, and we're going to hit enter, and now it's doing it. So now it's running the stressors. It's dispatching what it's called the hogs, which is like the FFTs that SMPrime ran, and then it's going to do its thing, and then it'll pop up your results in just a minute. So I will pause the video, and then when it's done, I will resume it. Okay, and there you go. As you can see, it passed completely. It said that it skipped 0, it passed one round of going across it. No fails. The metrics that were found untrustworthy were 0. It was a successful run and completed in 2 minutes. 1 minute and 50 seconds. So there you go. That is a look at Stress NG and how you can test it. Now, it helped me out a great deal. I found out that my RAM was bad. Now, the only failure that I had when I did the run here on video with the SMPrime was because I was actually trying to run OBS at the same time. So when you OBS and recording videos is pretty intensive on RAM. So it caused a little glitch there. I know that because I've ran it before. After I fixed my RAM, it worked fine. It passed everything. So now I found out that the problem was with RAM. So I bought new RAM. I went to go put new RAM in, and I realized quickly that I had done a rookie mistake when I originally put the RAM in. or somehow it became unlodged. I don't know. But bank number 3 was not seated completely in. It was just in there enough to make it look like it was seated, but the clip was not locked into place. Ergo, it wasn't making great contact, and it was probably heating up and maybe shrinking and not making no contact. And then when it was cool, it was making contact to make the computer think that it was in good. And then I started having issues. So it was intermittent, and that's probably why. So long story short, if you're having issues and you're not sure if it's a CPU or RAM, try these tests. They help you out. But before you can go to those, maybe take the side off your box, blow out your RAM, make sure that they're all seated in properly, and then run your tests. And you might be pleasantly surprised as to what's going on. Other than that, you guys, I hope this helps you out. I hope this gets some answers for you. And if you just want to stress test your computer, benchmark your stuff, hey, have some fun. See what you can find out about your older equipment too. Maybe you have an issue with another older PC. You might want to put this in there. Either way, y'all keep doing what you do. Keep on Linuxing. And above all, stay safe. And I will see you in the very next one.